This video is about the bullshit arguments that will recur well beyond the WashPo article and why I do predict magnets will be banned again, unfortunately, in the timeline we're in. If you've been following us for a while, don't dismiss that Washington Post article. This one is different. Let's just say, for the first time, we're actually getting hate mail. And the article itself has 2.8 thousand comments. Woo-wee! Let's just take a look. Thanks, Todd, for naming these creeps who are pro-shredded intestines businessmen. Is anyone truly pro-shredded intestines? Wrinkled, ill-fitting tee. Whatever, bro, your shirt's ugly. Clearly Chinese, another product from our end. I'm American. That's rude. Based on the article, I can kind of understand the reactions, mostly.
Zen Magnets Company feeds high-powered magnets to innocent children with chopsticks.
Okay, not exactly what was said, but if that was essentially your conclusion after reading the article, I don't blame you. I've linked the article below, but the gist of it is this. Zen Magnets overturned the magnet ban, stopped regulators from preventing injuries to children, and now there are thousands more magnet ingestions than before. Magnet industry jerks largely hold the power to regulate themselves. Regulators and safety groups agree. Warnings don't do shit. God, who are these terrible Zen Magnets monsters, and how could they be such callous profiteering assholes? Pursuing greed over safety? Oh, God damn it. What a departure from the truth. The mendacity starts from the title on. Number of children swallowing dangerous magnets surges as industry largely polices itself. My foot, the industry largely polices itself. Who the hell is the industry that gets to police itself? Am I the industry? According to the article, yes, that's me. Apparently, we have that power. This industry policing power sounds great. Where do I sign up for my badge? Let's just take a look, open a fresh browser. I'll be Karen trying to find some Zen Magnets. Light in the box. No mention of strength or tolerance, but way cheaper. Are these Zen Magnets? Let's click on it.
Magnet toy for kids and children, boys and girls, ages 8+, U.S. Fulfillment Center. You can just add to cart without seeing a warning. Comes in a big tin with no labels.
You would think that if we had the power to police the industry, we would start by preventing dangerous competitors from damaging everything we've built with their reckless, low-tolerance crap magnets, which straight up are being marketed as kids' toys and sometimes even developmental baby toys. This listing isn't unique. There are countless listings like this all over the internet and being sold on third-party marketplaces like eBay and Amazon that don't comply with pre-existing toy safety laws. These sorts of listings are as illegal now as they were before our business started. In other words, there's been a ban on hazardous magnet kids toys this whole time. I'll give you one guess as to who the biggest offender is. Alexa, buy Zen Magnets. Did that work? No, of course not. We don't sell Zen Magnets on Amazon, nor do we let anyone else sell Zen Magnets on Amazon. Yet, if you search for Zen Magnets on Amazon, you'll find that it's a popular search term in the toys and games category. You can see hundreds of competitor listings of low-effort garbage magnet spheres targeted at people looking for Zen Magnets. You might be surprised to learn that Amazon's listing rules prohibit all of these magnet sets outright. So it's not like Amazon doesn't know better, and it's not like Amazon hasn't been informed, because we've sent their legal team multiple certified letters telling them not to associate our product with kids' toys, or bringing their attention to hundreds of individual listings that don't comply with toy safety laws, and pointing out listings that lie about the strength or show photos of warnings when the actual product on the packaging has none. Zero response. Zero effect. We've been tracking the sales of high-powered magnet spheres sold on Amazon since 2018 using the AMZ Scout tool, and in the last 12 months, no less than $30 million worth of high-powered magnet spheres have been sold on Amazon alone. By depressing contrast, the Zen Magnets company has never broken $1 million in yearly revenues. Amazon alone sells more high-powered magnet spheres against its own company policy than the Zen Magnets company sells in a year. How embarrassing, I know. We can't all be Elon Musk, okay? Rhetorically, I ask again, who is this industry that the Washington Post refers to, and in what manner are they largely policing themselves? And how is it that Amazon, the leader of magnet sphere distribution in America, who actually does have control over its own listings, but is ignoring its own rules, let alone toy safety laws, how did Amazon somehow escape any mention from this Washington Post piece?
Fuck.
As much as I would love the ability to police the industry, that onus is actually relegated to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, or the CPSC for short. Still not very short. Let's just call them what they are, the Product Police, or PP for short. The PP is charged with protecting the public from unreasonable risks of injury or death associated with the use of consumer products. So, what have the PPs been doing about magnet toy safety laws in the last 4 years? Well, as far as we can tell, something between jack and shit. We've been cataloging this outbreak of hazardously marketed magnet balls and reporting them to the PPs both by mail and saferproducts.gov. And at most, 1 in 30 times we'll get a letter back that's like, dude, thanks for the heads up, keep our eye on it, followed by no action. These listings rarely get removed. We can't even get the consumer product police to do their job. No, literally, we can't even sue them to make them enforce toy safety laws because regulatory agencies have the right to selective enforcement, which also means if you didn't know about the hazards of magnets and you end up buying some Amazon toy kids shite balls and then your kid eats some, it's that very same privilege of theirs that doesn't allow you to sue the CPSC for not doing their job. Why they've given up using the same tools they used back in 2012 and 2014, I don't know. They could use voluntary stop sale letters like they did for many companies before. That's how they got Amazon and eBay to delist them back in the day. Probably wouldn't even have to modify those letters as much. Hell, put everyone else through the same legal crucible that Zen Magnets went through. Did you know that the CPSC has enforcement agents in every state? Just like the real police, they can decide not to enforce whatever laws they want and owe no duty to rescue any person from harm. Zen Magnets and its leader Q kept fighting. He convinced a federal judge that the CPSC made mistakes when it declared the magnets a substantial product hazard. So, in late 2016, for the first time in 4 years, rare earth magnets were legal to sell. That ended what appeared to be a successful experiment in injury prevention. Now let's just bring up the centerpiece of the article, this lovely, concise graph, to really drive the point home that I am an evil, profiteering jerk. Just look at this huge rise of magnet ingestions. Fuck Shahan Q. This CDC dataset is new to me, and it's unrelated to the National Electronic Injury Surveillance System data that's been relied on before. There are some contradictions, but the two datasets agree on most points. So don't assume there's any absurdity from the CDC data. The problem is the premise written by Todd Frankel and the Washington Post. This part that reads, a federal ban on small rare earth magnet sets was put in place in 2012 and lifted by a court challenge in 2016. The surrounding arguments being that the period the ban was live was when injuries were low, and when it ended, it directly led to these skyrocketing injuries. First of all, there was no such thing as a federal ban on small rare earth magnet sets from 2012 to 2016. It was literally not a thing, never existed. Maybe Todd Frankel was referring to this adult magnet set ban that ended in November 2016, because that began April 2015. That's when we couldn't sell Zen Magnets. During that time, ingestions actually went up, almost as if the ban shouldn't have been implemented in the first place. Second, even though there were precisely zero no new mandatory regulations in 2012, what the Consumer Product Police did do starting 2012 was vigorously enforce the toy safety law ASTM F963, which already banned loose received high-powered magnet sets from being sold as kids' toys. And it's a good, reasonable set of rules. High-powered magnet sets shouldn't be sold as kids' toys. In 2012, the product Po went after everybody, including us. We obviously didn't agree because we weren't selling them as kids' toys. Just because Buckyballs used a video showing them as mouth roller doesn't mean it's impossible for our products to be accessed by responsible adults, right? But at least they were trying to do their jobs back then, I guess. What certainly is true is that there are more magnet ingestions right now than ever before. Let there be no doubt about that. Right after the adult magnet ban was repealed, the Consumer Product Police inexplicably decided to stop enforcing the toy safety laws. Without mentioning many details about what's actually in this new ASTM standard for magnets, the Washington Post makes it sound like this new standard is some surreptitious move by the industry to take over.
We've been the ones asking for some reasonable goddamn regulation this whole time!
Long before the development of this ASTM standard, Zen Magnets was the first to petition the CPSC with a new standard that required these magnets to never be marketed as kids' toys, always have child-resistant packaging and a forced acknowledgement warning, and warning language that started with magnet poisoning hazard. We were trying to impose safer practices on the whole industry, but the CPSC was like, nah. Instead of considering new revisions or new regulations, the government relapsed into ignoring safety laws entirely and polishing their ban hammer. The WashPo article paints it as some partisan liberal versus conservative deregulation issue and tries to group it with all that like nasty Trump environmental and climate deregulation that's happening. That's shenanigans. This is no red versus blue matter, please, as if one should be surprised that Colorado, the first state to legalize recreational marijuana, which I'm very proud of, by the way, was also the first state to legalize recreational magnets. When it comes to magnets, abstinence is the only way to save the day. Dare to say no to drugs and magnets. Okay. It was about 3 weeks ago on December 20th that Senator Blumenthal of Connecticut introduced a new congressional bill, a clone of the adult magnet ban that was previously repealed in 2016. And the arguments for it are total deja vu. They label them all toys, group all injuries together regardless of who is or isn't selling them safely, and say, well, when we pull them out of kids, we can't tell who's a who, so y'all guilty. They say magnets have little to no utility.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
And they say, we have to either make them so weak to be useful or too big to choke on. Fun fact, if they really were too big to choke on, they would be this big and they would crush your fingers. But the most insidious and subtle duplicity they've dusted off is the argument that warnings don't work. It's the very core of what makes the CPSC's war on magnets so unique, because what they've done is cast warnings in a role that isn't what they're for, and then they trap all warnings efforts in this predetermined role destined to fail. Warnings are the go-to safety mechanism for countless consumer products, from small parts to household chemicals, but when it comes to high-powered magnets, the reasons for setting up a warnings don't work precedent is still built on the same myths and fallacies that were brandished the first time. They'll say magnets are so naturally appealing to young children, they can't be targeted towards responsible adults. False. You know what else is appealing to children? Guns, race cars, lasers, fireworks, and everything else Junior sees Papa playing with. Just don't give your kid everything they want or let them watch R-rated movies. They'll say it's a hidden, non-obvious hazard that most people aren't aware of. Well, few hazards are obvious before they're first taught. Magnet ingestion is just a new hazard, far from unlearnable. Certainly isn't the first thing that's perfectly safe if not swallowed, and dangerous if swallowed. Plus, not only should you be able to purchase products that are dangerous if misused, like magnets or sugar, but it's your right to be able to buy products that are dangerous even if used properly, like skateboards, trampolines, and skis. For that matter, you should be able to buy products that are intended to cause harm, like weapons. The solution to safety in all these cases is education and responsibility, generally in the form of warnings and instructions. Hazards require responsibility, and responsibility is the duty that comes with freedom. Yes, high-powered magnet spheres require more responsibility and respect than, say, marbles and coins. But banning everything that can be used irresponsibly is not the answer. Anyone who says there's evidence that warnings don't work for magnets is either misinformed or full of shit, because legitimate warnings in concert with enforced comprehensive safety standards have never been tried for magnet spheres. Okay, I'm gonna stop beating around the bush here, and I'm just gonna say it. The CPSC is guilty as hell. They're content sitting back, actively ignoring basic toy safety laws in order to rack up more injury data to pitch their advocacy partners for stuffing the warnings don't work straw man. In reality, the product police are not willing to give any warnings or packaging solutions a shot, even if those warnings are stronger than warnings of similar or greater hazards. They've spent the last 4 years nursing their bruised ego while ignoring the surge in magnet ingestions. They, along with their advocacy and media partners, continue to push this hella false dichotomy that magnets either must result in an epidemic of injured kids or must be banned entirely for all ages. I think Commissioner Adler and Commissioner K just want revenge for eggs left on their faces by the court losses. What I've learned is that the CPSC holds all the keys, and that's why magnets will be banned again. It's not about what's right or fair or just. Even if you successfully defend your own products in court like we were the first to in a dozen years, you still can't win if the CPSC doesn't want you to, because they have the resources to appeal ad infinitum. And even when external courts ask the CPSC to take their ban back to the drawing boards to come up with something more reasonable, they can stall indefinitely. If this new voluntary standard does get approved by ASTM, the CPSC still has to approve, adopt, and enforce it, which isn't going to happen. So it's probably moot. Using their untouchable power of selective enforcement, they are able and willing to foster your adjacent competitors in order to associate your products with the criminally unsafe. And they're willing to show that when the CPSC says warnings don't work, it's meant to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. They will allow children to be injured from magnets with no warnings as proof. So what now? 10 years ago, I started Zen Magnets because the magnets brought me joy and peace, but now the situation is so twisted and not Zen at all. At this point, more like the cat with 9 lives, but I'm just exhausted from it all the dirty politics and intellectual dishonesty. So there's no winning. I'm gonna turn down the throttle and let Zen Magnets glide down, and let this operation sail out until Magnet Doomsday comes. For now, we'll keep up the day-to-day operations, but we'll do no more growth planning and introduce no more products. And when the ban comes back or inertia runs out, we'll put Zen Magnets gracefully to sleep. It's not like there hasn't been other stuff I've been considering doing with my life. I do want more people outside the magnet enthusiast community to witness just how far Zen Magnets has gone for safety, though. So for the rest of the year, or until the business is no longer breathing, I'm permanently bringing the prices of Zen Magnets as low as reasonably can. For the finest, smoothest, most round, high-tolerance magnet spheres on the market. The objective of Zen Magnets is no longer growth or sustainability, no more 420 sales or Black Friday sales, no more coupon codes. Actually, I changed my mind on that one. You get 1 cent off using the coupon code CPSC is guilty as hell. No spaces. In our past, people have asked us to accept donations, but I've always felt like there's something ignoble about a for-profit company accepting donations. But at this point, whatever. I'll start a GoFundMe and you guys can figure out how to spend it. I'm done quarterbacking. Anyways, so that's what's up. That's what's gonna happen. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below, what do you think would be reasonable for the age and safety requirements of magnets? Right now, the age is 14 up by definition of a child in the US toy safety laws. Do you think it should be higher, like 16 or 18 like motorcycles? Or Do you think it should be lower? The age of 8 is when children are expected to read and follow warnings. Or do you think it should be no age ever, like the CPSC and the prohibitionists? And why? And for warning language, what would you like to see? In addition to describing the hazard, would you like to see used under adult supervision, like artillery fireworks? Or not for households with children? Would that be more appropriate? Should there be a requirement for child-resistant packaging, or to sign a waiver? For the record, Zen Magnets is and always was willing to implement any and all of it, as long as it wasn't an all ages, nationwide, non-consensual magnet sphere ban. Magnets must be respected, but need not be feared. Peace. Bonus rant. The Washington Post says, the industry overwhelmingly controls the standards making process. 18 of 33 voters, 55%, were either magnet manufacturers or had ties to the industry. God, I hardly wanted to waste time on this. I wanted to focus on the main arguments that would reverberate throughout the wave of the upcoming magnet ban, but holy shit, this is just so wrong. So, this is the ASTM site, and this is the roster. Due to what may be the ASTM rules, I've blurred out everything except the first 2 letters of the name and domain of the email addresses after the @ so that you can see what organizations are involved. But for $50 a year, anyone can join ASTM, be part of this work group, and see the full non-blurred roster as well as the full draft standard. Every entity only gets 1 vote, which is why there are less voting members than this list. But still, the roster shows 42 participants, 4 of which work for the CPSC and 9 of which represent consumer groups who have previously pushed for the magnet ban. Like, who are these industry ties that the Washington Post thinks we have? We're not, like, slipping Hasbro cash under the table, bro. Who are these home decor and sporting goods companies? I've never heard of them. Does he think we're paying testing agencies or independent human factors people? Because, nope, they're just not afraid of examining comparative risks because that's what they do for a living. Of the 4 magnet companies on the roster, 1 makes industrial magnets that aren't affected by the standard. The other makes specs, who makes weak magnets that are also not covered by the standard. There are precisely 2 companies here with products that are under the standard, and it's Zen Magnets and Nanomagnetics, both of which have a good record of 0 ingestions with their warnings. We're supremely outnumbered. Did Todd just hit up 1-800-WE-HATE-MAGNETS and write down whatever fake-ass numbers he heard from Brian Rudolph, the lead magnet hater himself, to avoid paying $50 to ASTM? This here isn't twisting the truth or telling half-truths. This is just nonsense. Like, I seriously had higher expectations from the Washington Post.